Welcome back. And today our topic is the future of AI is small data. The future of AI is low data. The future of AI is low code development. So what I mean by that is now a lot of big companies over like last 5 years, people are talking about big data, deep learning, but only very big companies they have large amount of data. They are really able to make the most of deep learning because deep learning models really need to be trained on a very large amount of data. But most companies only have small data. But certain technology that's happening, then it's allowing us to do that when you only have a very small amount of data, which means more companies are able to enjoy the power of AI. So before that, if you would like to receive more technology analysis videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and let's dive right in. So now there's a technology called transfer learning or few shot learning. They are very similar things. So what a transfer learning is, it allows the model to learn the things, learning knowledge from the very big data set. But the very big data set maybe is not exactly the data set you want to train your model on, but it kind of pre-train on, learn something from that super huge data set, then transfer the kind of knowledge to small data set that you want to really train your model on, because this model already pre-trained on the data set, already learn certain knowledge. Then you can use a model to, you can train the pre-trained model on your small data set and you can perform quite well. So let me concretize this a little bit, because if you are not in the machine learning field, you may feel this a little bit weird, unfamiliar. So let's say there is a company, maybe the Apple company, like it's not Apple company, it's the fruit company, fruit store, they fruit manufacturing, that kind of thing. They want to package apples, but there are two tiers of apples. One is very high quality apples, means they are very, their surface are very intact, very perfect. Another is like look a little bit broken apples, but still eatable. So the company wants to differentiate these two kinds of apple, and how can I do that? By using AI, basically is to train a model. They can do image classification. They classify the model to these two categories. And the first thing a data scientist will do is to collect a lot of images of these two kinds of apples. Maybe 100,000 image of a rotten apple and 100,000 of a perfect images of perfect apples. But as a small company, you're probably very hard to do that. It's probably very challenging to do that. Collecting that large amount of data already, maybe it takes so much money the company couldn't afford. So that's not foreseeable. So that's also the reason why a lot of small companies are not really able to use AI. And the transfer learning, what the transfer learning does is, the transfer learning is the model. You train a model on a very large amount of data, say let's say have 100 million images, but these images are don't like only belong to apples. There are a lot of images of other classes, maybe dogs, cats, any kinds of image. So model learn, you train a model first on that huge gigantic data set. A model learn how the images work. Basically, it has a basic sense of what is what. You also probably have seen apples, oranges in that data set. So it has a basic understanding of image. Then after you train the model on that data set, then you can recognize that many kind of images. Then you fine tune your model. Then you train, or you can say you fine tune your model on your small data set. Maybe you only have 100 rotten apples images, 100 perfect apples images. You train your model on these 200 images, then it will be able to perform relatively well, maybe very close to humans, differentiating these two kinds of apple. So this is what we call transfer learning. It transfers the knowledge from a large data set to small data set. Imagine this actually basically how human is like closer to what human do in this situation. If you ask a human to differentiate these two kinds of apple, I believe a human don't really need 100 images in order to tell the difference. Probably 1 or 2 images are enough because they already have the prior knowledge of Apple, prior knowledge of this world, prior knowledge of like what objects, what kind of objects should be what kind of things, right? The model, when you pre-train a model on a larger amount of large data set, is basically teaching the model the common sense, the prior knowledge of the world. So the model will be able to do that. So we call this transfer learning, and it's getting more and more mature. And also we have some technology called data augmentation. Basically, even you only have five images for each categories, for bad apple and the good apple. We can use a kind of a generative model, generator model, or you can say data augmentation model to like duplicate to kind of produce the similar image that's also rotten apple, but with slightly differences. Then you train your model on this data set plus the transfer learning. Now you probably only have to have maybe 5 images for each category. So that's what we call transfer learning, and it's coming. It's getting more and more mature. Every day, you can see a lot of papers are talking about this, and I believe this kind of technology will allow small companies to employ AI. But now you may ask, how can a small company train a model on larger amount of data set, because they will be super expensive? So that's where it comes to low code or no code development. Better called it low code development, because you still need to write some code for your downstream task. So there will be a company, for example, maybe Google or Facebook. They provide a very powerful pre-trained model. They already pre-train a large amount of data. Then when you really want to fine-tune this model on your Apple classification problem, you just call the API. Then the API will provide you maybe a model that is already pre-trained. Then you use the API as an interface to receive your 2 categories of Apple images, then fine-tune your model. Then you are able to really do the things, do the application. And by doing this, because you're calling API, you don't not only you don't have to pre-train your model on larger amount of data, say it can be $1 million cost, which is a lot. But also, you don't have to build your infrastructure to run a model, because even I give you a pre-trained model, but running the pre-trained model could be very troublesome. You need to build a pipeline to process your image, and more importantly, you need to have a GPUs to host that. Even you use AWS, Amazon Web Services, there's like cloud services. You still need to spend time. You still have to have developers to do that. But by using the APIs, you don't really need to do that. Maybe one person know how to pre-process images and have the fundamental, like basic concept of machine learning. Better have some experience, but just one person should be able to solve this problem, Apple classification problem. So this is what I mean by small data. Basically, it's a lot more companies to use AI, because most of companies only have small data, and also local development. You don't really need to have to run the kind of model on your machine, on your web services, because the big companies will do that for you. If you want some proof, I'm not really familiar with computer vision, but in NLP domain, OpenAI just recently released GPT-3, which is a super powerful language model. It's a super powerful pre-trained model, which employ the transfer learning or future learning. You don't really need to have a large amount of text and annotated text data to train certain models to do something. You just need to have maybe 100 examples or even five examples, three examples, the model can do that. For example, you want to do the sentiment classification. In the past, we need to have 100,000 data points to train the model. They can perform sentiment analysis. But now, if you use GPT-3, maybe you can just use one or two examples. The model will tell you what sentiment it is, and maybe it's even more accurate than the model that was trained on 100,000 data points. It could be because they already show a lot of experiment results. Definitely depends on your situation, but at least you will be close to the model they will train on a large amount of label data. So that's amazing, and it's happening. And just like I say, you don't really need to run the GPT-3, this like gigantic language model on your machine. You just need to code it, and OpenAI already runs everything for you. So that's the future of AI. I would say it's like more people can do that, because you imagine how many people really know natural language processing right now in the world. I think the supply is now enough for the demand, and also a lot of companies they don't have luxury to build an NLP team in their or computer vision team in their companies. That can be expensive. So I believe by using this kind of low data development, those company, 3-person company can enjoy the power of AI. There will be a future. So that's what I mean by that. And if you would like to receive more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. And you have any thoughts, any questions about what I just said in these videos, feel free to leave that in the comment section below. And other than that, enjoy your week, and I will see you next time.